that game and stay in the NFC North? Because Minnesota now is a real thing. This is 9-2.
Yep.
We all kept waiting for the bubble to burst. What are they doing to get the best out of Sam Darnold? Because that's what I'm seeing. The best Sam by a long shot.
Oh, yeah. Well, it all comes down to how you structure your pass game, the route concepts, the route combinations, how you present them to the quarterback, particularly against zone coverage. Man-to-man obviously is a different animal because then you can pick out who you want to throw to. But when you're playing against zone coverage, it's the route concepts and the combinations that become so important, and how you present that to the quarterback to read them based on anticipated zone concepts. And Kevin O'Connell does such a good job with that, and they have such good concepts where they overload zones. They put corners and safeties in conflict because they're not just going to stand there, corners and safeties. They have to react to routes, so they put them in conflict with the nature of routes. And Darnold's reading this really clearly. You've always watched Darnold, Colin. I don't think we've ever seen him throw the ball this confidently from the pocket in the NFL, where he feels really comfortable in what he's seeing and who he's throwing it to.
Okay, now tomorrow, Green.
So, yeah. This just shows you how important, truly how important coaching and the place you land as any player, but especially obviously a quarterback. And a lot of Minnesota Vikings fans, surprising to me, on the more recent side, any of their tough losses that they've had or any tough moments, a lot of fans actually are blaming Kevin O'Connell, which I always combat in the comments. And I don't want to say it's like the vast majority of them, but I've seen more comments than I would have thought. And they're saying like, oh, Kevin O'Connell's making mistakes, this, that, and the third. And I think when you kind of look at it through that lens, you're really overlooking how crucial and important Kevin O'Connell has been to make this offense hum, to make Sam Darnold just the best he's ever been. This is literally the best football he's ever played in his entire life. And it's just it's not an accident. It's because of what Kevin O'Connell's doing. And it's always going to be imperfect. But when you realize what he's been able to do with this offense, with this team, with Sam Darnold, it's nothing short of extraordinary. Truly. And this whole idea, you can see I got mad from the very beginning of this clip. This idea, like, this is a real thing, right? Like, they're 9-2. This is a real thing. We were all waiting for it. And it's like, no, we were not. I was not. I believed in what this team could do. I believed what Sam Darnold could do. And I made a clip. I think it was before the season even started, potentially. If it wasn't, it was like the first week or two. So it was very, very early on. It was with Mark Sanchez on here. He was on, on the herd, I think actually like in person. And he said, this team is ready to win now. I'm almost positive I made a clip around it. And obviously, I 100% agreed with Mark Sanchez. And I remember there was a lot of pushback on, in that video and the conversations of like, this isn't a win now team. What are you talking about? And it's like, there still seems to be such aversion to accepting this being a top team. And I think a part of it is nobody wants to be wrong. Everybody wants to be early to the party, right? Everyone wants to say, I told you so-and-so was going to do best. I told you so-and-so was going to win the Super Bowl. I said it before and no one else, said it, right? People love to be able to do that. Obviously, it's fun. I do it. We all do it. But if you're wrong, if you predict a team that you think is going to do something and you're wrong, you have that impact versus which has a big impact on you, right? If you say the Chicago Bears are going to go to the Super Bowl and they don't make the playoffs, right? As we know, like what Nick Wright's prediction, people can really jump on you. But if you doubt a team being great, like if you keep doubting the Minnesota Vikings and saying, I don't know, and then they end up being great and you go, yeah, they were for real. They were better than I thought they were. You don't like pay as much like public repercussions for it, whether it's with your friends, family, whether you are on a, TV show where millions of people watch you. Like there's a different like reputational cost. And I say that very lightly, very loosely, because, we're just talking sports here. but it's just like it hits differently. It really does. If you say this team's going to be great, they're going to go high. Oh my God, they're a top team in the NFL, and they're not. Outside of like injuries and stuff like that, it's like people can really be like, you are ridiculous. And again, you can see the opposite end of that spectrum, kind of like, again, to kind of stick with Nick, right, where he said the Philadelphia Eagles weren't even going to make the playoffs, and now he's saying they're a top contender. But he's able to do it in a way where people are like, oh, look, see, he turned around. He wasn't wrong. He changed his opinion. Like it's just kind of different. So people are so resistant on giving the Minnesota Vikings any flowers. And it's like they keep saying, no, this team's not good, this team's not that good, and they lose. They're like, I told you they weren't good. And the reality is that more teams are not going to win the Super Bowl than will, obviously, because only one team can win it all. So you have a greater chance of being right than wrong. You understand what I'm saying? So if you keep saying a team's not that good, as long as they just don't win the Super Bowl, you could say, I told you that they weren't going to win the Super Bowl. And it's like, oh, well, that was such a bold statement to make. The odds are massively you have better odds than Vegas at that point. Like the odds are massively in your favor. When you predict a team to like win and be a top team, like the odds are stacked against you now to be wrong. So it's just a kind of like this interesting kind of a back and forth of what someone's willing to predict versus not, quite frankly. I find it kind of fascinating. And so the resistance to accept the Vikings as a legitimate contender will just kind of continue to make me smile. Even Minnesota Vikings fans, I see that. They're a lot of them are more jaded than even I realize, and they're just kind of like, everyone knows how this season's going to end. You know, like they're not feeling really high on it. But of course, you obviously have plenty of Minnesota Vikings fans that obviously believe and are excited and, you know, can't wait for this season to continue. So, they to me continue to be one of the top stories in the NFL and under discussed because I really think it's remarkable. I mean, like, they're a legitimate top team. They have one of the best records in the NFL with Sam Darnold as their quarterback. Like, how is that not absolutely remarkable? Seriously, how is that not wild? Whether you think they're going to be able to win a Super Bowl or not, or whether they're even just a first round exit, like, it becomes irrelevant considering what they've been able to do here. It truly is. It's remarkable. And it's still, to me, the fact that since people want to make sure that they can predict the future, they refuse then to acknowledge how remarkable something like this is. And that is kind of part of a fundamental issue with having these types of conversations about trying to predict who's going to win the Super Bowl, who's a better quarterback, this quarterback or that quarterback. It makes you now, it doesn't allow you then to appreciate what you're actually seeing. And I've talked about this actually with like LeBron James and Michael Jordan. You know, you're in such this obsessed debate between who's the GOAT that you now downplay anything LeBron James does rather than be like, that was absolutely amazing. Like, yeah, I still think Jordan is the GOAT or whatever, but like, that's amazing. Instead, it's, no, that's not that good. Nah, stop overreacting. That wasn't that good. And it's like, it doesn't allow you to appreciate what you're seeing. And I think that's kind of an effect with the Minnesota Vikings. So many people think like, this team is kind of more fool's gold. They're not really as great, this and that, Sam Darnold. They have their opinions. But every time anyone ever talks about the Vikings, it's always like pumpkin watch, Sam Darnold's recklessness is going to get them in trouble, all this. And then it doesn't allow you to appreciate actually how great this team is, what they've been able to accomplish, what they've been able to overcome. And it's unfortunate. I mean, listen, everyone does it to a degree. I'll do it with certain teams and players. Like, it's just kind of human nature. But it's just like, I think it's kind of a shame in this situation because I really think the Vikings when we look back at this season, and maybe I'm feeling extra sentimental because it's Thanksgiving, but when you look back at this season, like, this is a top story in the NFL, and it just continues to be under discussed, and even not even just under discussed, but accurately evaluated, accurately portrayed. I try my best, but you know, I can only do what I can do, and I think that it's still being understated. So I'm happy that Colin kind of, you know, used this because he only has so many moments with Greg Cosell to kind of be like, you know, what are we actually seeing here? What's actually happening? And yeah, love to see it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold, and the success that they've had this season? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.